Good evening. I'd like to call the City Council meeting of Monday, June 6, 2022 to order. If I can have our City Clerk please call the roll.
Mayor Flores.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Tharp.
Present.
Councilmember Noble.
Here.
Councilmember Dugo is absent tonight. Councilmember Diaz.
Present.
Councilmember Bousquet. Mayor, we have a quorum.
All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, I have a motion made by Councilman Bousquet, second by Deputy Mayor Tharp. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Thank you. All right, that motion carries 4-0. At this time, if there anyone wishing to speak under public comments, please, on agenda items only, feel free to come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. All right, seeing no one, moving on to our special business. Tonight we have a few of them. The first one of my favorites of the year, and it's going to be the 2022 Educational Scholarship Awards, and it's going to be presented by Councilmember Susie Diaz and the Educational Scholarship Chair.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I'd like to start by thanking my fellow council members for appointing me as chair of the City's Scholarship Committee. Our committee is comprised of dedicated residents of Green Acres, and I'd like to take a minute to recognize them this evening. We have Mr. Charles Shaw, Ms. Danette Fitzgerald, Ms. Eliana Gerard, Ms. Roxanne Hunt Gale, Mr. Dennis Smith, Ms. Arlene Spagna, and Ms. Adele Abbott. Once again, I'd just like to thank them for their time and their dedication to this process. This year, we had 20 total applicants, of which 19 qualified for interview. I'd like to give a special thanks also to Michelle Thompson and her team for the coordination of the process. As you can imagine, coordinating and liaising with 20 applicants and 9 committee members is no easy feat. I'd specifically like to recognize Ms. Marise Aviles of our Community Recreations and Services Department for going above and beyond to ensure that student applications were complete, that everything the committee would need was thoroughly organized, and that the communication was seamless throughout the process. The committee met and interviews were conducted in the City Council chambers on Wednesday, April 27, 2022. Applicants were ranked, and the following 6 applicants were chosen as the recipients of the City of Green Acres Fiscal Year 2022 Educational Scholarships. I'd like to call each honoree up and ask that they share a few words, after which I invite my fellow council to join me for a group picture. First, we have Mr. Nathaniel Barrow from Berean Christian School, who is receiving the Denise Paget Memorial Scholarship Award for Athletic Excellence. Excuse me. Nathaniel?
I just want to say thank you to the City of Green Acres for choosing me to receive this scholarship, and I would also like to give glory to God because without him none of this would be possible. My plans for my future is to attend Palm Beach State College and play for a basketball program, and since I've grown up in Green Acres mostly all my life, I want to give back, and by doing that I'll go back to the Salvation Army because I grew up around there and I played basketball there, and there's a lady there that really helped shape who I am. And again, I just want to thank the City of Green Acres. So, thank you.
Mayor, I think you have someone for your Friday night basketball. Second, I'd like to recognize Perla Davida Cruz from Slam Palm Beach Charter High School. She is receiving the Norman Rose Memorial Scholarship for Outstanding Community Service with over 1,200 hours of community service. Third, we have Miss Benjina Fantasi of Atlantic Community High School receiving the James Pangialungo Memorial Award.
I hope to become a representative of the Environmental Protection Agency where I can hopefully draft and enforce environmental standards across the nation. Thank you.
Next, we have Alyssa Urrutia from Florida Atlantic University.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Urrutia. They're hugging me because I'm an employee here, so I've learned so much from them and everyone here at the City of Green Acres. So I do want to thank everyone at the City of Green Acres, along with the Educational Scholarship Committee, for giving me this opportunity and selecting me as a recipient for the scholarship. Because of this, I can go ahead and further my education at Florida Atlantic University in hopes of becoming a elementary teacher. So thank you.
And last, but certainly not least, we have Eden Westerman of Santa Lucia's High School.
Good evening. My name is Eden Westerman, and I wanted to start off by saying thank you so much for this opportunity itself and awarding me this scholarship. I really appreciate it. I also want to thank Ms. Thompson and Ms. Avelis, who answered my emails and calls regarding any questions I had during my completion and the application itself. Also, I appreciate Ms. Thompson, who personally handed me my award at my school's senior awards night. As I move on with my educational career, I plan to attend the University of Miami for the next 4 years in the fall. As I am there, I will be majoring in neuroscience, which is the study of how the nervous system develops its structure and what it does. Once I have completed my bachelor's in science, I strive to attend another university to earn my doctorate degree so I can pursue my career of becoming a clinical neurologist. As a clinical neurologist, I can dedicate my time to understand the brain's functions while providing support for patients with neurological and nervous system disorders. This will help improve the quality of life for many people that suffer from diseases like Parkinson's and Lou Gehrig's disease. On the other hand, the scholarship would support me by providing some coverage over my financial burdens that may accumulate while I attend college, which will ultimately make me less worried about how my family can pay for it. Also, it will support me in ways where I do not have to take on an extra job during college. Instead, I can focus more on ways to improve my knowledge and use any extra time to take on research activities and internships. I also have more time to participate in community service at my school and organizations I was able to be a part of during my senior year. From this, it would allow me to gain some advantages towards my path to get my PhD. Once again, I want to thank the council for taking the time to listen to my goals and awarding me this scholarship.
I did see Perla joined us, so I'd like to call up Perla Tavira Cruz.
Good afternoon, Council. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity of this scholarship. It truly means a lot. As some of you may know, this has been a hard year for me with the loss of my mother. This is going to give me the opportunity to go off to college and be able to pay for my education, which for me and my mother was very important. Education always came first. She would tell me that here. I would like to continue and pursue my career as an attorney and hopefully one day become a federal judge and help those in need. And hopefully when I am able to progress in my career, I can open up charities for kids and homeless people, and not only in my city, but throughout the whole world. I would like to impact people, and I would like to thank you guys for giving me this opportunity and scholarship. It truly means a lot, and I know my mom's grateful too. Thank you so much.
If I could ask all of our recipients to come up for one group picture, please. Council, if you'd like to join me. And I'd like to end my notes by saying Ben Franklin once said, an investment in education gives the best returns. So again, I'd like to thank the council, and I'd like to thank our city residents who understand the importance of investing in our city's youth. Thank you.
On the left side, please. If you could, over here for us. I'm sorry, yeah, we're. All right, 3, 2, 1. One more. If you were on the scholarship committee, would you join us, please? I see one individual. There's 2? Yes. Come on up. Please join us. If you're in the scholarship committee, please. Worked so hard. Yeah, you could. Yeah, please feel free. We can go with one of this. No, okay. We can avoid that. There's always a microphone. We're going to have a mic behind Joel. Come on, right here. Thank you, guys. To the 5 recipients, we are extremely proud of you. Just remember that the community stands behind you, and you're always welcome to come back and give back here. We need future leaders. We need future mayors, council members, and whatever your endeavors in life is, come back to the city and always give back. And maybe you can impact the next generation thereafter you. So thank you for what you guys have done. We're extremely proud of you. And the only thing that limits you, it's your mind. There's nothing else that can limit you. There's nobody that can hold you back. And education, nobody can take from you. Absolutely not. So keep going. Challenge yourself. We're extremely proud of you. Thank you. All right, the next one. The next proclamation that we have tonight is the National Garden Week. And if I can have our city clerk please read the proclamation.
Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Green Acres, Florida, proclaiming June 5th through the 11th, 2022 as National Garden Week. Gardening promotes a healthy lifestyle that lasts a lifetime, helps reduce stress from other areas of your life, teaches that rewards can come from diligent efforts. Therefore, the City of Green Acres acknowledges the importance of gardening and the numerous contributions of gardeners. Thank you.
And today we would like to present Barbara Hatzel, Janet Stein, and Rebecca Walton with the proclamation.
On behalf of Oleander Garden Club, we want to thank the City of Green Acres. It's such a pleasure to work with you all, and we appreciate everything you do in supporting us. Thanks.
So they put endless hours at our gardening with our youth, so we are extremely blessed to have you guys here in the community and everything that you do. So thank you once again. All right. Our next proclamation is State Farm celebrating their 100th year. If I can have our city clerk please read the summary of the proclamation.
Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Green Acres, Florida, proclaiming June 7, 2022 as State Farm Day. State Farm is celebrating its 100th anniversary in 2022. Therefore, the City of Green Acres called upon the residents of this city to observe this day by demonstrating what being a good neighbor is all about through acts of kindness and making people feel welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. And today we're presenting the proclamation to Brianne Rodriguez. Are they here? Yay!
Why isn't Judy here today?
She's out of town.
Huh?
She's out of town.
Out of town?
So Blanca, who is the agent at the local State Farm, she has been a great partner, especially to our youth and community center. So we're extremely proud to be able to present them with their 100th year anniversary. And we look forward to continuing to work with them. All right, our next proclamation is Park and Recreation Month. If I can have the city clerk please read the proclamation.
Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Green Acres, Florida, proclaiming July 2022 as Parks and Recreation Month. Our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and its region. Therefore, the City of Green Acres call upon all city residents to recognize the value of national, state, and local park services and encourage the participation in city parks and recreation programs. Thank you.
Have Michelle Thompson and her team come up. I see Jean. I see a few other folks. Come on up.
Carlos. 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 Go up there. Go up there, Carlos.
Hey, how are you?
Carlos, finally. All right. I'll give you now that Carlos is here.
Okay, we got to bring it over. We don't have Wi-Fi. Now we want to. Who's going to say a few words? Michelle, you're up.
We have one more.
Thank you very much. The Community and Recreation Services Department cannot do what we do without the wonderful employees in this entire city, with all departments. I'm seeing Kara back there that, her and her staff, they have to approve all of our temporary use permits for all of our events, right? Carlos, your team, unbelievable. Support us every step of the way with keeping our buildings maintained and the toilets flushing and everything going on. The parks in great repair for all of our events. Fire rescue for always being there if we have an incident, right? As well as PBSO for the safety and security of everything that we do every single day. And we are the doers. Whatever you ask us to do, we're going to try to do it to the best of our ability. But we have a great team behind us. So this is all about you, the city, as well as all the residents and all of our participants. So I share all of this with you. Thank you.
So it's easy to give recognition and to sit up there and receive, oh, you got beautiful parks. You just heard it takes an entire community to make the city run. It's not just myself, it's not just the council, but it's these key people that give back. They're the ones interacting with our youth, with our communities, providing top level service across the board. I know sometimes we may miss a pickup of trash, but I assure you, you make a call, we respond. We take everything serious. You heard Carlos, get kudos. You heard our recreation team. They are the ones, they're truly the ones that make this go round and round, and we're extremely proud of them, and that's why today and every time that we get a chance to, we recognize them, because we understand that it's easy to either, get the kudos or take the blame up there, but these people on the ground are really the ones that are making sure that we provide top-level service to you, the residents in our community. So once again, give them a big round of applause. And with that, if I can have...
Proclaim July 15, 2022 as Parks and Recreation Professionals Day. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I can have Michelle and her team once again come up and receive the...
And Carlos and PBSO and everybody, because they're all part of what we do. All over again.
All over again. Come on up.
Come on, Gene. Still get stuff left. Iris, yes. All right.
Kara, I heard your name mentioned, so.
All right, and the last one, we have a presentation of the annual comprehensive financial report, and that's going to be done by our Director of Finance, Terry Berger, and Ron Bennett, CPA, Nolan Holtz, minor PA.
Second here to get you going.
Put him to sleep after all that. computer.
Yeah, no, just, it's not up there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so Ruth is passing them out. Good evening. The presentation is not showing on the slide, but Ruth has been passing out some. So. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Terry Lee Berger, Finance Director. The annual comprehensive financial report is submitted each year in compliance with the Florida State statute. The purpose of this report is to provide the City Council, citizens, financial institutions, and others with detailed information concerning the financial conditions and performance of the city. The report is verified by an independent auditor. The city's financial statement has been audited by Nolan Holt and Minor, PA. Tonight, our annual comprehensive statement will be presented by Ron Bennett, a partner of Nolan Holt, who will give a brief summary of the report. Ron?
Thank you. First off, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, on behalf of Nolan Holt and Minor, I want to thank you for allowing us to serve as your auditors once again this year. It's a privilege and a pleasure, and I hope I get the opportunity to do it again someday. Second, I would like to congratulate the management and staff of the city for doing an outstanding job again this year. I noticed in reading through the transmittal letter over in the front, it said this is the 30th consecutive year that the city has received the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association. There's a copy of that certificate on page Roman numeral 9 in the introductory section. That's quite an accomplishment. I've heard it said that the hallmark of a champion is consistency, and the city has certainly been consistent over the last 3 decades in doing an excellent job with their financial reporting. Before I have a little presentation I'll go over with you in just a few minutes to go through some of the numbers, but first I'd like to talk a little bit about what's in the report. First off, there are actually, in your annual comprehensive financial report, there are actually 4 reports in there. The first of those is in the financial section. It's the independent auditor's report on the financial statements, where we give an opinion on them. And I'm happy to say again this year that we believe the financial statements are fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. In our line of work, we call that a clean opinion, and that's what you want to get. The other 3 reports are in the last section under a tab called Other Reports. There's a report required by government auditing standards that relates to internal control and compliance, and I'm happy to say we didn't find anything amiss that we had to report. There's also a management letter requiring anything. And if you only have a few minutes or you want to get the real summary for it, there's a section called Management Discussion and Analysis. It's on pages 4 through 13. And this is management's opportunity to put their foot forward and do a summary of what has happened in the current year as compared to the prior year, and a little bit of a look forward to the next year. I highly recommend it. The city did an outstanding job of summarizing this information. This is one of the better MD&A sections I've seen. So kudos to the finance staff of the city. There's also more than one set of financial statements in here. It says basic financial statements. There are actually 2 sets of financial statements that are done under different sets of accounting rules. The first document you'll run into is a statement of net position in that financial section, and a statement of activities. These reflect what we call the entity-wide activities, and includes all the assets, liabilities, revenues, and expenses of the city. Then you have your fund level statements, which are on a different basis of accounting. They only consider current financial resources, that's current assets and current liabilities. That is, you have no capital assets, your land, your buildings, your equipment. You have no debt, no pension liabilities at the fund level. With that, I'd like to direct your attention to the little handout. Oh, you got it up. Great. Page 2 is a summary of your governmental fund revenues. The city only has governmental funds. It has, 12? There's several of them anyway. This is the combined total of all the revenues from all those governmental funds. And the bottom line is the revenues increased about 11%, 10.9% from the prior year, from about $34,500,000 to $38,257,000, for a grand total of $3,751,000 increase. Very good. On the next page, you can see this. I like the pictures better myself. I can see the trend. This is the data on the prior page, just summarized in a graphical manner. The blue big part of the graph at the bottom is the taxes, primarily real estate taxes, but there are other types of taxes, sales taxes, gas taxes, and that stuff. And that's your primary source of revenue, as you can see. After that, it comes down to charges for services and intergovernmental revenues. Those are things that get passed through mostly from the state. Excuse me, state revenue sharing, communication service taxes, those kind of things. On page 4, we have the other side of the coin. The revenue is the money coming in, the expenditures, the money going out. And here we see that the total expenditures increased about 2.3% from the prior year, $774,000. It's about $33.5 million to $34.3 million. Small increase, and if you look at all the numbers, everything kind of adds and subtracts and kind of zeroes out. And the total increase is probably due primarily to the public safety. Public safety, you had total expenditures of $34 million, $20 million of that's public safety, approximately 60% of your total expenditures, which is fairly typical for local governments. That's not unusual. Again, the following page, page 5, you can see the same thing in graphical form. The big red portion of the chart again is the public safety. Page 6 is fund balance. That's your equity. If you're in a business, you'd say that was your net worth. But in a government, it's much more complicated. In a for-profit business, you just have equity. Here you have 5 different categories of equity, and we're showing them from the most liquid to the least liquid. That is, the one you want is unassigned. Unassigned fund balance are resources that the city can use for any lawful purpose at the discretion of the governing body and management. From that, we go down to assigned. Those are resources that have been earmarked for purposes by the city. You can change that earmark if you choose to. Committed is resources that have also been earmarked by the city, but by a higher level of action. Assigned could be done by a resolution, whereas generally committed is done by an ordinance. But you can undo that too. Restricted is you can't year's expenditures without getting another dollar of revenues. You have that money there, which could come in mighty handy if we ever had a major hurricane come through and do significant damage. So I believe personally that's a very good range for that fund balance. Again, page 7, we see the same information in graphical form. The blue at the bottom is your unassigned fund balance, which I said is the most desirable. What we've just done is we've gone through the fund level statements. The last 2 charts are the entity-wide, or that first set of financial statements I told you about. The statement of net position, this is more comprehensive because you have your capital assets and your debt and that sort of stuff all combined into one statement. The net position is the corresponds to fund balance at the fund. That's all I have to present. I'd certainly be willing to try and answer any questions. If anyone has any, have a question later, next week, next month, give me a call. It doesn't cost you a penny. It's all part of the fee. And if I can't answer on the phone, I'll be glad to come out and talk with you individually or as a group at any time. It's your beck and call all year round.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the council? I don't see any questions. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
All right, we are now down to the
Ordinance 2022-12, second reading, amending Chapter 2, Article 2, a new Section 2-29 to be entitled Appointment Process for Deputy Mayor, to set forth the process for the appointment of the Deputy Mayor, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date.
And we have City Manager Andrew McHugh presenting.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Ordinance 2022-12 was approved on first reading on May the 16th, 2022. The only clarification that was changed or added in first reading was that the council did agree that since the District 1 council member was currently serving as deputy mayor, the new process for the appointment of deputy mayor, effective with the first meeting in April of 2023, will begin with District 2. There have been no other changes. The city attorney has reviewed the ordinance for sufficiency and compliance, and staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2022-12 on second reading.
Are there any comments or questions from the council?
I'd like to make a motion.
Hold on, let me open up public hearing first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. All right, I'd like to open public hearing for ordinance 2022-12, second reading. If anyone wishes to speak in opposition of the ordinance, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the ordinance, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, public hearing is now closed. And I will take a motion now.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2022-12 on second reading.
Second.
All right, have a motion made by Councilmember Busquets, second by Deputy Mayor Tharp. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I didn't hear you. Councilmember Diaz?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Just reminding you guys, please talk into the microphone so I can hear. All right. That motion carries 4-0. Plus, they have to do meeting minutes, so they have to be able to hear our responses. All right, moving on to item 12, public hearing ordinance for 2022-13, second reading. If I can have our city clerk please read the ordinance by title.
Ordinance 2022-13, second reading, amending Article 5, Section 2-146 of the Green Acres City Code entitled Voting Districts by redefining the geographic boundaries for the 5 established voting districts, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, severability, inclusion in the code, and an effective date.
All right, and once again, we have our city manager, Andrew McHugh, presenting.
Thank you, Mayor. The boundaries for the city's 5 voting districts, they were last updated in the year 2000, and as we all know, the city has grown significantly over the last 20-plus years. At the May 16, 2022 council meeting, the city voted to pass ordinance 2022-13 on first reading, which provided for an alternate map that ensured fair apportionment in population within each district. The city attorney has reviewed the ordinance and supporting documents for legal sufficiency. Staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2022-13 on second reading. And we do also have Dr. Stephen Barassa, who's here from FAU's Department of Urban and Regional Planning, if there are any further questions.
Any comments or questions from the council? All right, seeing none, I'd like to open public hearing for ordinance 2022-13. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of the ordinance, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the ordinance, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. All right, seeing none, public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-13 on second reading.
Second.
All right, I have a motion made by Councilmember Diaz, second by Deputy Mayor Tharp. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries 4-0. Moving on to ordinance 2022-14, first reading. If I can have the city clerk please read the ordinance by title.
Ordinance 2022-14, first reading, amending Chapter 8, Licenses and Business Regulations, Article 3, Business Taxes, Section 8-46 through 8-736 to correct the applicable department names to clarify business inspections, to create criteria for denying, suspending, and revoking business tax receipts, providing for appeals to the special magistrate, and for the purpose thereof, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinance, severability, inclusion in code, and an effective date.
All right, and tonight we have our zoning administrator, Karen Gardner-Young, presenting.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. So this is the first time I've come in front of you regarding our business tax receipt information. So I'm going to go over a little general information and always available for questions at the end. So what topics I want to go over tonight is, what is a business tax receipt? Why are we updating our business tax receipt process? What changes are we proposing? And then eventually get to the recommendations that we have received so far. So the first thing is, a business tax receipt was previously known as occupational license. So if you remember that, we don't have occupational license anymore. It's now known as a business tax receipt. And basically, it requires an individual or an entity, business or profession, who wants to operate within the city's limits in order to obtain the business tax receipt. We consider it a privilege of allowing them to engage in business activity within the city. Now, business tax receipt is required for each location that the business operates from, and one for each category of the business which is conducted on site. So, for example, if you have a beauty parlor, you need the beauty parlor, but you also need the individual hairdressers would need to get a license as well. The business tax receipt also talks about exemptions which are authorized by statute. That includes disabled individuals, widows, veterans, spouses of veterans, and so forth. So not everybody is required to pay but they may need to still get a license. So why are we looking at our business tax receipt provisions? Well, first of all, the process has not been updated in over 10 years. So just that alone is a good reason to look at it. In addition, we felt that additional requirements and processes were needed to fill gaps in basic requirements. You can imagine in 10 years what changes have occurred. We also wanted to be clearer regarding the criteria and processes that are needed. You're going to hear this forever when I'm coming in front of you. I want to make something user-friendly. I want to make it clear and concise so it's very easy for everybody to understand. Noticed, rather than doing the building department, we're doing it through the Development and Neighborhood Services Department to allow flexibility. We want to clarify inspections. When we're now saying proof of past fire inspection is required. Again, fire inspection, life, health, safety. We want to make sure that the facility is up to where we don't have to worry about or concerns that might be occurring due to activity or due to particular businesses. And we want to note that home-based businesses don't require an inspection unless a use specifically triggers it. It's a single-family home. It should remain a single-family home. Home occupations are only meant to be business. They're not meant to have people visit. They're not meant to have displays. So really, they're just mostly using telephone and internet in order to conduct their business. We are changing appeals. We're asking them to be heard first by the Department of the Development Neighborhood Services Director, and then to go to the special magistrate. In the past, it's been the City Council. We felt this is a quicker process. It also lends itself to be much more common because you have a special magistrate who's looking at all violations. And the last one, we're looking at adding grounds to deny a BTR application and to clarify when a BTR may be suspended, refused to be renewed, or revoked or canceled. So let's talk about the grounds for denying. So we're actually clarifying why we can, as a city, say to somebody, we're not going to issue a BTR. One is misrepresentation. That makes sense, right? They say they're doing one business, but they're doing it different. I'm not going to allow that. If the business activity or site does not comply with code, and we're saying code in general, that could be a fire code, a building code, could be a zoning code. Failure to obtain a certificate of occupancy. Well, if they don't have a certificate of occupancy, they shouldn't be in the facility to begin with. Deficiencies not corrected per code violation or a BTR previously denied in which the item has not been corrected. We don't want people to go back into some bad situation that they haven't addressed in the past. If it violates federal, state, city, or county code, if it's condemned by the local health authority, delinquent payment of any city fees. So if they haven't paid their taxes, they haven't paid their last year BTR, they haven't paid their fire inspection fees, anything that's due to the city they have to pay before we're going ahead and issue that BTR. And then if they have a changed use, they said they're doing one type of use, but they changed it to a different type. Now, this item was brought forth to the Development Review Committee on May 2nd and 19th on 2022. No objection were received. We're not doing any amendments to Chapter 12 or 16, so you will not see a recommendation from the Planning Board. This has been fully vetted by the City Attorney. worked with her very closely to make sure we've got ourselves covered in regards to that. And staff is recommending approval of ZTA 2208 through Ordinance 2022-14. This is the first reading. So thank you for your time regarding this. If anybody has any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Are there any comments or questions from the council? All right, seeing none, thank you so much. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Ordinance 2022-14, first reading?
Okay.
Second.
All right. I have a motion made by Councilmember Bousquet, second by Deputy Mayor Tharp. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries 4-0. All right, moving on to public hearing for ordinance 2022-16, second reading. If I can have the city clerk please read the ordinance by title.
Ordinance 2022-16, second reading, amending Chapter 16, Article 4, Supplemental District Regulations, amending Division 3, Public Places to add Subdivision 2, Art in Public Places, creating a 1% Art in Public Places program for city beautification, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in code, and providing for an effective date.
And we have Development and Neighborhood Service Director Kara Erwin Ferris presenting.
Good evening. Tonight I have before you ZTA 2107, and this is second reading and adoption of the Art in Public Places Ordinance for the City of Green Acres. First, I wanted to go over some issues that were brought up at first reading, and I want to make sure that my answers at the address project that is coming through. You decide where you want it, and then you can create a selection committee that chooses the artist, that approves the art, and goes through that process. And then when your budget has enough and you want to do some master planning for your Art in Public Places program, you can do an Art in Public Places committee. And they can create that master plan, locations that they want to fill, and kind of put programs together, or even specific art pieces that they want in specific locations. Initially, you will be limited to only city sites. The developer side of the program, they'll be doing it on their sites, and it will go through the same development review process that their projects go through, but you'll have final approval on it. So other than that, there have been no changes since first reading, and adoption of Ordinance 22-16 will provide and become effective the Art in Public Places fund for the City of Green Acres.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? All right, seeing none, I'd like to open public hearing for ordinance 2022-16. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition of the ordinance, please come forward. State your name and address for the record. Seeing none, anyone wishing to speak in favor of the ordinance, please come forward. State your name and address for the record. All right, public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 22-16 on second reading.
Second.
All right, I have a motion made by Deputy Mayor Tharp, second by Councilmember Bousquet. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Councilmember Noble? He said yes? Okay.
Said aye.
4-0, sorry. All right, moving on to ordinance 2022-18, first reading. If I can have the city clerk please read the ordinance by title.
Ordinance 2022-18, first reading, amending Chapter 9, miscellaneous offenses by adopting Article 3, landlord-tenant notice requirements, Section 9-30, notice of termination of monthly residential tenancy without specific duration, and Section 9-31, written notification requirements related to rental payment increases for rental tenancies to require 60 days written notice for termination of certain tenancies, and increases in rental rates, providing for severability, preservation, conflicts, codification, and an effective date.
And presenting, we have our City Attorney, Glenn Torcivia.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an ordinance that we discussed there because of the tremendous increase in rental rates and the difficulty for tenants to find affordable housing. This is a local ordinance that would provide that landlords must give 60 days prior notice prior to terminating a month-to-month tenancy. State law is currently 15 days, so it provides an additional 45 days. and it also provides that if there's going to be a rent increase of more than 5%, there needs to be a 60-day notice. This is something that the city will not be involved with enforcing. This is really a tool for the attorneys who are defending tenants, primarily through legal aid. This was developed in connection with legal aid attorneys who do this kind of work. So it gives them a tool in their toolbox to help the tenants.
All right, there any comments or questions from the council?
Yes.
Councilmember Busquet?
Mr. Torcivia, what are certain tenancies? It says.
Well, it's talking about tenancies that are generally month-to-month tenancies.
Okay.
So that's the primary focus of this is month-to-month tenants. Now, if you have more than a 5% increase and you have like an annual lease, then they still got to give you 60 days notice before they increase it more than 5%.
Thank you.
Any other? Sort of rents are going through the roof, and there's more people moving into Florida. I think the statistic into Florida is about 1,000 individuals per day. So those are driving our prices up. And what I get concerned about is our workforce, is people that have been here for a long time, and it's creating it's prohibiting them from being able to attain an affordable home for them to raise their family. So I've looked for ways to be able to, can't really control rent, that is preempted by the state, but I've engaged with different organizations and government levels to see what we can do, and an attorney was able to find this something that they did similar, I believe, in Lake Worth. Is that correct, Attorney Trivia? Once again, we're not limiting, we really can't dictate what somebody can charge for rent, but what we're adding is more days to give somebody proper notice so that they're able to find a new place to rent. So I just wanted to clarify that, but it's an issue that we're all facing. It's high. I consider this to be a crisis. And I think a lot of people out in my community are feeling it. I'm hearing it all over. Reading you guys in the audience, I could see heads shaking up and down. So I know that this is hurting a lot of people in our community. So I'm extremely excited to be able to put this in place, but I think more is definitely needed. Any other comments or questions? Councilmember Diaz.
Thank you, and I do agree that we do have an issue that's beyond even just Green Acres, that is countywide. I do have a question, just based on some of what we're seeing across the board. Us doing 60 days, obviously, is above what Florida statute says, which is 15 days. And I know that there have been a lot of issues with the home rule situation. Is this something that is going to, can the state come back to us and say, no, you can't do that?
Not under current law, because there's Attorney General opinions that say we can do things like this. I would, if next slide.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 22-18 on first reading.
Second.
All right. Made by Deputy Mayor Tharp, second by Councilmember Busquet. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that motion carries 4-0. All right, moving on to item 16, Florida League of Cities Annual Conference Voting Delegate. Each municipality sending representatives to the annual conference must designate one of the current officials as a voting delegate to cast their votes at the annual business session. We have Andrea McHugh, our city manager, presenting.
Thank you, Mayor. This year's annual conference is going to be held in Hollywood, Florida from August the 11th to the 13th. And as you said, and is done every year, each member municipality sending delegates to the annual conference must designate one of their officials to cast their votes at the annual business session. Currently, Mayor Flores and Councilmember Dugo are slated to attend the conference. So we just need the council to nominate and approve a voting delegate for that conference in August.
I nominate Judith Dugo, Councilwoman Judith Dugo, to be that delegate.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions? All right, I have a nomination on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so do we need to do a motion?
Let's just go ahead and do one just so that we have one.
All right, I'm assuming that's a motion?
Yes.
Yep. All right. So I have a motion made by Councilmember Busquets, second by Councilmember Noble. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
All right. There are no discussions item tonight, so we're moving on to comments from the public on non-agenda items. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi. Most of you know my name is Emily Roberts. I live in Green Acres. You know my address. I live in a small over 55 community. Those of you that have been to my house know that it's a lovely little hidden community of 88 villas. Unfortunately, over the past 12 years, I've been there for over 20, we've had some robberies. That's not what I'm about to speak about. I must say that the police have been wonderful responding to the robberies each time. My house was robbed twice, once while I was at home. Police were there right away. One house was robbed twice, and in fact, the first incident was on the show Cops. Green Acres was on there, and the man was found hiding in the person's closet. Oh, yeah, well, the reason I bring this up is most of us have alarms. Now I have a glass-breaking alarm, a motion sensor alarm, alarms on all the doors. And, that's fine. I feel safe in my house. Police have been wonderful. However, last week, apparently, the hurricane shutter monitor of the city came around, and I know apparently it's been on the books for years that you cannot close your hurricane shutters unless it's 10 days before or 10 days after the hurricane. Okay. 25 years I've been in Green Acres. This has never been enforced as far as I know. What this person did was put a sticker on the door of a couple of houses saying, you must open your shutters. Now, obviously, if the shutters were closed, there's nobody home. And that was the case. Well, a neighbor saw it and managed to call the people and say, what should we do? Nobody knew what to do. One person called the city hall, and someone at city hall said, all the hurricane shutters in the house must be open a foot. Well, I don't know whether this is for aesthetics or not, but let me tell you, hurricane shutters nicely closed are much prettier than hurricane shutters each open a foot. I understand it could be for a public safety thing so that the fire department could get easy access to the house. Why does every window have to be open? It would seem that one or possibly two ways into small house, we're not talking mansion here, we're talking, little villas, that one or two open windows would suffice. Especially this house that's been robbed twice, seeing the hurricane shutters open now, this is like, come on, boys, come rob me again. We don't want this. So I wanted to know why stickers are put on the doors and notification of a violation of this law could not be sent through the mail to the owner, because obviously a sticker on the door when nobody's home isn't going to do any good. Now, someone else had said to me, you should go and open people's hurricane shutters. Hello, I'm 80 years old. I can open my own. Okay, and the response I got from that was, how long are you going to milk that? I'm going to milk it for every year that I can go on after 80. Okay, then when I called, I was asked, what is the remediation time? And the remediation time, in other words, if your sticker is on there, do you have a week, 2 weeks? Well, it could be between 9 and 15 days for somebody to open the shutters. Okay, that means if I close all my shutters and I go visit my kids for 2 weeks, I'm still okay. However, I said, what if I go past that? God forbid I get COVID and I have to stay a couple of weeks, my hurricane shutters are closed. Well, there's a per diem fine. What is the fine? I was told it hadn't been determined yet. So I spoke to one of my neighbors who was head of public works for a city in New Jersey, and his comment was, if it's $1 a day, he's going to leave his shutters closed for the 3 months that he's gone and pay $90. You know, if it's $10, this has to be determined. The other question we had was impact windows. If you have impact windows on your house, and you know they show those things on TV, you can bang it with a hammer and it doesn't. How does this provide access to the fire department? It just seems that if everybody were to put in, I have some neighbors that have put in total access impact windows. Does that mean there's no way for the fire department to get into those houses? So I feel I never want to disobey a law or a regulation. However, I feel that sometimes laws and regulations need to be updated or modified to make sense to the community at large. So I hope that I'm not going to be encouraging the hurricane monitor to be coming around again, because apparently she walked around to check all the different windows. And that's my comment for the day. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Emily. You did raise some very good questions, and I'm hoping that our staff took note, and maybe we can get some answers at some point.
I'll follow up.
Thank you. You were making great questions, which is why I allowed you to go a little bit longer, because so.
I appreciate it. I've been known to speak a little longer.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Michelle Steinberg, and I live in Pine Ridge South 4. And I'm also commenting on the Shutters and Impact Protection Code, which I'd like to start out by saying I would request a reading of an amendment to this and public hearing on this. Let me motivate that. I was preparing for hurricane season, which is now upon us, and I came upon the Palm Beach County building director, Doug Wise's page. Let me read this. Buildings can be damaged or destroyed by high winds, rain, and flooding caused by hurricanes. There is also the added danger of windborne debris, which can break windows and damage roof coverings and walls, allowing high winds inside a building. Once the wind gets inside, powerful uplift forces can literally lift the roof right off a building. Now, I live in a condo, not a single family. Therefore, I have 8 apartments in my little building that I have to worry about. Years ago, the property that I owned was left unprotected during a hurricane. And during that time, a tree was partially uprooted, and the branch of that came flying in as a projectile into the bedroom. The people were not there, but they had never invested in hurricane shutters. The wind damage inside was considerable. Now, this roof right off the building I have never thought of before, and thank you. I should have said thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for having this hearing. But here it is. So I've investigated a little bit. There have been attempts by other venues to have waivers. For example, if you're going to be away for a period of time, give your key to the office of your HOA so that if there is an emergency, or register so your address is known. So I just request that please consider amending this. A number of people in my community have talked about a petition. People in Canada, of course, have to leave for an extended period of time. People who are in their 80s, even in their 70s or 60s, may not be able to afford to pay somebody to do that service for them. So I don't know what the procedure is, but I ask that the council and the mayor take up this question of amending Code 304.13.3. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Lubov Wagner, and I also live at Pine Ridge South 4 condominium. I've been a resident there for 3 years, and I have family that has been there for close to 30 years. During that period of time, my family has closed their shutters when they went up north. Now, we just received a notice from our HOA that we have to now comply because we will be fined if we do not comply. We just received a letter on May 16th. A lot of our residents, okay, who are snowbirds, like Michelle said, went to Canada, back up north. They closed their shutters like they have for 20 some odd years, okay? Now they have to have them open. They have to pay somebody to open them, okay? A lot of the people do not have somebody that watches their condo for them. They shut it down while they're gone, and that's it. Now it's understood that they're going to be charged anywhere from $20, okay, each time somebody has to go in there and open and close the shutters. The other concern is we have a lot of elderly people that are there year-round. What they normally do is they have a family member come, close one of the shutters, okay, because it's hard for them to get out the window and close the shutter. So they will close the hardest one for them, and then they would be able to close the other one if, in fact, a hurricane was named, okay? And it's becoming a hardship for them. Okay, again, please take all this into consideration. There's got to be some other way, like the woman said about, hurricane windows. What's harder to get through, the shutter or a hurricane window? The fire department is equipped with a lot of equipment, okay, where I'm sure they can get the shutters open, in a hurry if need be. Okay, for one, I am 100% for safety. I was in 2 house fires as a child. I understand that, but I'm looking out for my neighbors and my friends in my community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak, please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Santa Morris Miller. I'm at 5550 South 37th Street in Lake Worth Hills. Recently, the city and county, I assume, have come through and put in sidewalks and fire hydrants. The other day, I've lived there since the 1970s, and one of the reasons the development didn't go initially was flooding and standing water. Once the city put in swales, that problem was solved. Well, with the sidewalks being installed, they've removed all the swales. Yesterday, or the day before, we had our first heavy pre-season rainfall, and there was standing water everywhere. Now, granted, the project isn't done on my street, but I drove the other streets where it was finished. The sod was down, all the sidewalks were laid, the construction was done, and there was standing water. I've called the city inquiring who I should speak to about that, and was passed around through different people, and finally left a message with one gentleman, but no one returned my call. I see this as maybe a future consideration that someone needs to look into, because if we're going to go through hurricane season and go back to the days of large standing amounts of water, it's going to be a problem in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Carlos, would you mind getting her information? Thank you.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I'm Beth Dellinger, 104 West Beverly Road, Jupiter. I've lived in Jupiter in the Pines for 50 years. You each should have information that I'm speaking on. Thank you. Palm Beach County began the low-income senior citizen municipal tax amendment in 2014. There are 39 municipalities in Palm Beach County. So far, 13 have passed this amendment, and 3 have approved it for 2023. I'm really trying hard to make all the municipalities aware of this exemption. Sorry, I have a cough. This is for citizens 65 and older with homestead property and an income of less than $32,000 a year. For residents like myself who live under half of this amount, any savings on our tax bill is greatly appreciated. I'm asking on behalf of your citizens if you would put this on your agenda and approve the amendment to be applicable for 2023. Green Acres has 8,383 homesteaded properties and 527 citizens that would qualify for this amendment. Thank you for putting this on your agenda and to be submitted to Kristen Dees, Tax Exemption Specialist at the Property Appraiser's Office before December the 1st, 2022. You have her phone number there. Your attorney has copies of the papers that Jupiter filed with the Property Appraiser's Office. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, good afternoon. First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Karen Velez. The address is 123 Northwest 13th Street in Boca. I've lived in Boca for over 20 years. I'm Karen Velez. I've been an attorney for over 16 years. I'm running for Palm Beach County Court. I'm going to keep it brief. I am a lawyer, a mother, a business owner. I've been an attorney now 16 years. Before that, I was a teacher. Public service is important. I'm running for Palm Beach County Court Judge. Some people may not know that many of our judges are appointed. And so I'm running because I believe in public service. I've lived in this community for over 20 years. I live here with my husband. I raised my daughter. She attends Palm Beach County Public School. And it's important that everyone understand that our electoral process, that voters should decide who our local judges are. I'm running for County Court Judge. My name is Karen Velez. I'm asking for your vote on August 23rd. I have literature and stuff outside. I'm more than happy to share with everyone. But I think that it's important that everyone understand that county court especially should be overseen, the judges in county court, because it is the people's court where it's generally where the court where most people, if they're going to have a legal matter, that's their first time in court, in county court. And so our county court judges especially should be representative of the local community, of this diverse, amazing Palm Beach County. And so, again, I'm Karen Velez. I've been an attorney for 16 years, a teacher. I've worked in the public and the private sector. I was a public defender when I started my legal practice for over a decade in court every single day, successfully litigating and defending through trial the poorest amongst us, typically in Spanish. I was a Spanish floater for over a decade, every single day in court. I have the qualifications. I have the legal acumen, the skills, the wherewithal, and so I'm asking you to go online. Karen Velez for Judge is who I am, and look me up, and please vote for me on August 23rd. I'm happy to answer questions. And one more thing on public service. It's cliche, but true that children are our future. I commend you for giving scholarships here and starting your meeting. Bravo. That is amazing to come here and see that and witness that is no small feat. It is amazing. So hats off to you. And I can tell you that as a former teacher, as someone that dedicated, a portion of my life to teaching children, I want you to understand that public service, you getting your education is important. Being a federal judge, please, that nothing would be greater. So the sky's the limit, as Mayor Flores said, reach for the stars and get there and do it. You can do it. And to everyone else, I won't keep you. Again, I'm Karen Velez. I'm asking for your vote on August 23rd. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Do something.
What was that?
Point of order, make sure that he's
He has every right to speak.
not, depending on the subject.
He has every right to speak.
Depending on the subject.
I'm talking about housing.
State your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Nathan Galang. I'm from Santa Catalina Place, and I wanted to talk about public housing or the housing crisis in general. First of all, I want to thank the City Council for doing what they can to address the issue, but I wanted to elaborate on it further and propose some solutions that I believe in. So I think it's important for us to understand the scenario that we're in. Things are getting expensive. Growth in home values are outpacing incomes by 125% in 2020. Home price median household income ratios are spiking to levels we haven't seen in the last 70 years, far surpassing the levels that we've seen in the housing bubble. Florida, according to CBS News, is becoming the least affordable place to live in the United States, and we're seeing in all these different cities, Miami, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, and even within our own county, prices spiking. Things are not looking so good. And on the local level, I'll come with a bit more of anecdotal points. I recall looking at prices for apartments in our city around mid or late 2020 and seeing the cheapest options being around $800 or $900. I remember in the earlier parts of this year, the cheapest prices have risen to around $1,200 a month. I can say in the recent weeks and months that the cheapest prices are around $1,500 a month. But most apartments are approaching $2,000 and some are approaching $3,000. So I just want to give a hypothetical. Say you're part of the 50% of workers making under $35,000 according to the Social Security Administration. Note that that number includes 45% making under 30K, 40% making under 25K, 20% making under 20K, and so on and so forth. Let's say you're making $30,000 a year. You choose the cheapest option, which is around $1,500 in the city, and you're paying $18,000 a year of your income to rent, which is 60% of your income. It's a lot. And it's also worth noting that that number does not include things like utilities, the cost of food, gas, etc. Let's say your rent's around $2,000 a month. Your rent is $24,000, and you're putting in 80% of your income. This information makes it very clear that this is not just unaffordable for the 45 million making under 15K. They simply are unable to live in the city. But for the people making 30K, it's not sustainable. So I have very limited time, so I want to quickly talk about what I believe could be the solutions. I would really recommend caution when it comes to approving single-family developments. They take up a lot of land. According to Bloomberg, they cost a hell of a lot more money, and they don't quite make the same revenues. Compare that to publicly owned housing, which makes a lot more money, around 10% according to Bloomberg. Vienna is an excellent example of how they've changed the perspective of what public housing can be, not just bottom of the barrel, you're at the lowest point in your life, but an affordable option that forces landlords to compete, that brings prices down, and that gives working people an option. With that in mind, I would encourage looking into those solutions. If you got any questions about it, more than willing to talk about it, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Please come up, state your name and address for the record. Seeing none. All right, moving on to, I just want to point of clarity. It may seem like we didn't respond to the comments that you made. It's sort of a rule that we don't engage with during public comments. When it's my turn to speak here shortly, I'm going to ask the council or our city manager to add it to an upcoming agenda for discussion, understand what the codes are and things like that. I just want you to understand that we're not avoiding or not addressing your concerns. We heard what you had to say during our, when it's the mayors and the council members discussion, we'll talk about things like that. So I just want to make sure that you don't feel like we didn't hear what you had to say or that we're not addressing what you had to say. With that being said, moving on to our city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items for tonight, mostly just reminders of upcoming events. But first, I wanted to welcome an intern that we have for the summer. I know that there was some discussion last fiscal year regarding creating internship positions. Shanice Copin, right there, she is over there with our city clerk. She is going to be in the administration department from June the 2nd to July the 27th. She is in the Honors College at FAU. So we're looking forward to having her, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to get more interns as time goes on, but we're very excited to have her. So welcome, Shanice. Just a few reminders. The next Let's Talk community conversation is regarding developmental disabilities and Down syndrome. That is this week on the 8th from 6:30 to 8 at the community center. Additionally, we have our Ignite the Night. That is July 4th. We don't have meetings again until July the 18th, so we want to put a plug out there for our Ignite the Night, which is at Community Park on July the 4th. And then we also have our July community conversation, which is eating disorders, and that will be at the community center again from 6:30 to 8 p.m. on July the 13th. Just want to thank our staff, both our community and recreation service staff and PBSO for a very successful daddy-daughter dance over the weekend. And really a special thanks to PBSO. You guys really made the night special to a few of the young ladies that attended that event. So we really are grateful for that. And as I said, we do not have a meeting until July the 18th. That's it for me.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions for our city manager? All right, moving on to the city attorney's report. Attorney Torcivia.
Nothing to add.
Thank you. Moving on to the mayor's or city council report. I'm going to start with the deputy mayor, Tharp.
Thank you. With regards to the information we provided on the property tax exemptions for the seniors, I would definitely like to look into that, to know what does it mean in our revenue stream, to see if this is something that we could do. That's all that I have for this evening.
Thank you. Councilmember Noble.
Just a comment to bring a point through in our discussion or in our approval in our decision to redistrict the city. The fact is, the only reason, unless someone else can justify something else, the only reason we have districts is to select the persons who live in that district to run for that district. There's no other reason that our districts perform. We have no coalitions. We don't have appeal to anyone. Is that I represent the entire city and wants to justify that in a different manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Diaz.
I would like to second what, I know it's not a motion, but I agree with Deputy Mayor Tharp as far as we could please get into that tax program. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, let's bring that up for discussion at perhaps the July 18th meeting, since if we wanted to add it, I think we have to do it by a certain time for the appraisal. Is it the appraisal? Property appraisal that this needs to go through if we chose to?
The values, we actually did receive that information, and I did reach out to the assistant director of the property appraiser's office so we can bring it back and discuss it. We have the information.
Thank you. Councilmember Busquet.
I'm in agreement with Councilwoman Diaz and Deputy Mayor Tharp. McHugh just spoke to. I would like to just make a comment about the district. There's a very good reason. Technically, there could have been, the way the districts were,
since that we had to go through redistricting, as they mentioned that we had to be within 10%. There was a couple districts that were outside of that range. So that was just point of clarity there. In regards to the shutters situation, I would like for us to bring up discussion, or at least educate us on a presentation of the current shutter code is, and perhaps have our fire team kind of explain what the safety aspect of this is. So, safety is paramount. We want to make sure that all of our residents are kept safe. And unfortunately, if it creates a little bit of inconvenience, I think safety should always be paramount. With that being said, we should also look and see if there's something there that could be addressed or adjusted. And if there is that room, we will definitely, I think this council is very open to addressing that. The last thing I want to say is, remember, it was great. I had 4 deputies that were there. It was just a great evening. So I think we're going to continue this. Over the summer, we're doing a few of them. So if you know of any high school students that want to come out, play, or just talk to me, or just be in the stands, whatever it may be, reach out to our community recreations department. They're sort of keeping track. But invite them to come out and be part of. I remember when I was in high school, we had in my home, my city, it was called Friday night basketball, but it was a way of keeping kids. When they speak to me, I feel like they can relate somewhat. They seem a little bit as old, although I played okay, right, Gene? I played all right. It wasn't my best. It wasn't my best, but.
Did you win?
I actually lost. I took 2 L's the first 2 times, but then I redeemed myself. No, but it was a great evening. It's great to connect with our youth, and if you know of any high school students that want to be part of it, we're going to be there this Friday between 7 and 9, 6 to 8. So between 6 to 8. Those are all the comments that I have from the mayor's report. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, and if you're keeping track at home, we're having a budget hearing right after this. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and then we're going to get started again. Meeting's adjourned.